Hi, everyone, and welcome. First, I want to apologize to all the viewers who came at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to see our interview due to technical difficulties. And we are here trying to do the Zoom interview and to bring you the best. For those who don't know me, my name is Carmen Peutz, and I'm an educator and a counselor. I try to help people to discover their full potential and life possibilities and also develop healthy and lasting relationships. And before I am introducing Tanya, I want to say, that when you open doors in life and try new possibilities, new people also come in, and one of these people was also Tanya. And when we were enrolled in the same group, I loved Tanya's and I admired her authenticity and how transparent she was with her life and life lessons that she had. So Tanya, thank you for joining me today here.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. And the technical difficulties always happen. They do. It's part of it, right? It's just part of having a business.
Yeah. Let's not stress about it.
No, not at all. Gosh, not at all. We'll do it here.
Tanya, can you tell me something about yourself? Introduce yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Sure. Okay. So my name is Tanya Marie Dubé, and I'm really happy to be here, everybody. Nice to see you, Carmen. Yeah, sure. So I'm a personal development training coach, and I specifically coach women who are going through a divorce or a separation, through the transition process into being perfectly healed again, which can take a lot of us a really, really long time to get through. So I am right now in the midst of putting together this program because of the work that I do, an online course called Thriving After Divorce, From Breakup to Breakthrough in 5 weeks, because I really do believe it does not need to take an entire lifetime to get over something that didn't work out, right? So this is what I do. I teach also on narcissism, narcissistic personality disorder. I was actually quite surprised. A couple of years ago, I walked out of a very tumultuous marriage, and I went through, the gamut. I've had narcissistic boyfriends in the past. I've been through this enough times now to know exactly what it is that I'm dealing with. And it's shocking in the work that I do, how many women come forward talking about having a narcissistic ex, not knowing how to co-parent with them. So I teach that. How to talk to their children about their narcissistic father or mother. I teach that. I also teach on how to get what you want from a narcissist, which if any of you have ever dealt with narcissism before, let me tell you, it is a tricky, tricky game. So I teach people how to get through that, primarily women, right? I primarily work with women. Did you want me to tell you a little bit about my background, about myself?
Yeah, please.
Yeah?
I want to ask you that. Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, well, I'll start from the very beginning. I'm no stranger to adversity, which is why I do personal development training. So I grew up in the foster care system. I was literally born right into it. I was living in 7 different foster homes by the time I was 2 years old, and I lived in the 8th foster home from when I was 2 until I was 10. So they fought for me every single year inside of a system here in Canada that does not really allow for close bonding relationships between foster care and the children that are in foster care. But they became my family, and they became, my world. They became everything to me, and they taught me some very fundamental life skills that, of course, as a child, you don't really know you're going to need later on until adversity hits. So at 10 years old, my mother married my stepfather and moved me away from there, from one end of Canada to the other. And, he ended up being very violent. He was a pedophile. My mother became very violent with me. Almost put me in the hospital once. And at 12 years old, I became homeless. I started living on the street. Now, I will say this, I was always very academic growing up, and I always wanted to do really well. And it was because when I was younger, I overheard someone call me a statistic. And of course, I didn't know what a statistic was. I mean, I was smart enough to look it up, and I thought, no way, I'm not going to be a statistic. I'm not going to let myself fall short because nobody is going to believe in me. So I became an overachiever. So by the time this adversity hit when I was 12 years old, I knew I had some very fundamental foundational skills in my life. And one of them was that I was not easily kept down. I always wanted to do really well for myself. So funny enough, I mean, I was living under a tree when I was 12 years old, and I didn't know how I was going to make it work. And I was crying and I was scared, and I wasn't sure what was coming, but I did know that I wanted to finish school. Like, I wanted to get myself through school. So somehow, I look back on all of this stuff, but, through the grace of God or whatever was there for me, I managed to sleep on couches and stay with friends and find food and, on and off the streets from 12 till 18 years old. So, I mean, I'll tell you a little bit more too. I ended up quitting high school so that I could support myself. So technically I only have about a grade 8 high school education as far as high school is concerned. But I was given this opportunity to, and when I say given the opportunity, I saw an opportunity in a situation that I was in, that I could work at night and go to school during the day, which is something I never thought I was going to get the chance to do. So I quickly got my general exam, it's called a GED, General Education Diploma, I think it stands for. I got that in 3 weeks, got myself enrolled in university, and away I went. And I ended up studying social psychology, which is now my background. And I have another degree in something else, in art. And I have, I'm working on my certification for something called strategic intervention now, which is what enables me to coach. So it's been a long road. And as you can see, I'm no stranger to adversity. And having gone through this divorce and separation, which I am still going through right now, I thought, gosh, everything I'm learning right now, everything I'm learning. So here I was, I walked out of this relationship, and all I had was, I had my education and I had some serious coping skills from the life that I had had. So I had that as a benefit. But in searching, because now I'm also a mom, right? I have 2 children and I was about to become a single mother. And when I walked out of that marriage, I was married for 18 and a half years. When I walked out of that relationship, I made the very solid decision that I was not going to go back. There was no plan B for me. So I will say that that's a really important part of making a decision like that. But I started to sift through all of the stuff that's out there for women going through divorce and separation. And it kind of made me angry. I thought, what happens to women when relationships don't work out? We're just sort of cast aside. Now we're over 40. We're no good anymore. Like, what happens to us? Like, I just could picture this, like, this weird world where all these like zombie, over 40 women were kind of walking around just trying to make ends meet. And we're sort of like left to the sidelines. So this is what precipitated my Thriving After Divorce, whole project. It's a movement now for me. I have an online show. Anyway, I could go on and on and on about it, but this is where my life has led me. And it's through this fierce, belief that, I just love women. And I think that we are so strong. Yeah. And I think just by virtue of being able to carry and give birth to a human, I mean, it just puts us levels above. And somehow in all of this mess through the centuries, we have become small and tiny, and we allow people to keep us there. So my mission is to just do as much as I can to stop that. Like, I don't like it. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in playing small, so anyhow, so this is the whole foundation for what I do, all of it.
It was so interesting because I know, I know how it is to be a single mom, because my sister divorced when her kids were like 4 and 8. And I always admired, single moms, and doing, being a mom, being a businesswoman, and doing everything on your own. And I always still do, just the other day when I told my neighbor, I'm enrolled in entrepreneurship for women, educated women, and he said, "Oh, just for women?"
I've come up against that too.
Yeah, discrimination. I said, well, how about men being paid more for the same job as women? Can you explain that to me?
Yeah.
And I'm like, women being treated differently when divorced and single, differently than men, it's like,
oh yeah,
still till this day.
It's unbelievable. And I get into these conversations sometimes. I have a little bit of a social media following as my business is growing. Yeah. And I'll get messages from men suggesting that because I'm a feminist, it means I don't like men, which is not true. I really do believe in an equality and a perfect balance of a male energy and a female energy is what makes would probably make everything so much better, but I get into these conversations sometimes with these men where my reaction to their very ignorant statements like that one, that you faced, my reaction to that is, it's not my job to have to convince you. If you don't know about this imbalance between masculine and feminine, then you need to go research that. And then you come back to me when you can have a normal conversation with me, because I'm not going to get into a fight about it with anybody. Like, I want to speak to the women who need me, right? Like, that's how that works. I'm not out to convince anybody to do anything. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand people just by being, empowered and standing for women and being an advocate. You don't like men. That's not true at all. I mean,
no, it's not true at all. And that's just this weird thing that's been put on us for fighting so fervently for what it is that we believe we deserve. I don't listen to any of it. I just don't. There was a time in my life where I did, and it was easy for that stuff to get in my head because women were doing it to me too. And I thought, okay, what is this fire that I have inside of me that people call me mouthy? Or they call me too aggressive or too ambitious. Like, ambitious is such a bad word. I laugh at all of that stuff now because I've worked so solidly on my personal development that nothing anybody is going to say is going to be able to shake me. But when they do start talking to me this way, I'm starting to ask them questions about their own security in themselves, right? So it always turns into a very interesting conversation because you don't, what's the point in getting your feathers ruffled, I think, right? Just be strong and be smart. Yeah.
Just the other day, there was an interview. Then the guest said, when somebody is like aggressive towards you, just say thank you and be kind, and they cannot do anything to you. Say thank you. And
you want to know, I had this conversation the other day with a group of friends, and we're sitting around a table, and we just had a barbecue and a pool party. It was one of those parties, and we're sitting around a table, and one of my friends said, I just wish that people didn't get to me so badly. Like, I wish that they didn't make me so mad all the time because they're just so in their own world or whatever. And I said, well, why does it have to affect you in such a negative way? And he's like, well, because it's in my space. And I said, well, rather than internalize that in your space, why don't you do what I do? So of course he was like, what do you do? And I said, well, let's say I'm checking out at a grocery store and the girl who's doing my groceries is like packing my bag and she's got an attitude. I'm a very friendly person. I talk to everybody all the time about anything. I'll say to her, are you having a good day? And then she'll go, sorry. And I'll say, well, it seems like something's wrong. Are you having a bad day? I'm asking because I'm on it. Like, I'm honestly curious. Like, what's wrong? You would be surprised how many people say, oh my God, I can't even believe the news I got today. Or, my boyfriend just broke up with me again. Or, like, my mom's sick. Like, it's unbelievable what people are going through. And we sort of like don't think about that. Right? So if you were to ask my children, my daughter's 12 and a half and my son is 7, they would tell you how many people on the other side of that counter have hugged me and said, thank you just for asking if they're okay. Yeah. So it's just really important to remember. So here I was at this barbecue party and we're all, like having a great time. And it got really super serious when I was talking about this. And then they were all like, holy crap, I never thought about doing something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was like, yes, kindness first, right? Kindness first.
Yeah. Because I remember when we were on one of the classes for my PhD, and one of my friends said, like a perfect example, when you are angry and you look at yourself in the mirror, what are you seeing? Like an angry person. So if you're angry, that is just something that it will come from the other side as well,
Yeah, energy.
Yeah.
Energy is everything. Can I tell you what I teach about energy? Can I tell you that?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I talk about this a lot with my clients and I talk about it a lot with my friends too, but I only talk about it with my friends when they ask for my advice because not everybody wants my advice. But so this is what I teach clients. I make them visualize a flagpole, right? A pole, like a flagpole. And you don't have to have a flag on it, but just imagine the pole. Imagine it's big, but we're going to stay here so you can see it. So right here at the top of the flagpole is where our highest energy is, our highest vibration. So, you know, when you get that job that you really want, or you know, fall in love with that person who, you know, or that person loves you back, or whatever it is, you're at the absolute highest pinnacle of your happiness. Nothing is going to make you mad up here. You could be driving your car and someone could cut in front of you and you'll be like, no problem. That kind of happiness, right? And then on this flagpole down here is like the lowest you could ever feel, the lowest, like the worst things are happening. You're spilling coffee on yourself. You just lost your job, like the worst things that keep you low, you know, your vibration low. Now, right about somewhere in the middle is where most people sit. But unfortunately, they sit between the middle and the bottom. So this piece is sort of where everybody is living their life. They're living their life kind of happy, mostly mad or pissed off at the world, kind of okay, but their thoughts in their head are negative. So they're living this negative reality because, you know, what you think is what your reality is going to be, right? So you're living inside of this like mediocre way of living. I want my clients, you know, and everybody around me to consider the idea of eradicating this lower level and now living in the top half of that, what that means. So that means that you're working so hard on yourself that when a negative thought comes into your head about how difficult something is, you're able to go, that it's not difficult. I can totally handle this. And then you just go do it without thinking about it. Or, you know, I can't get into this relationship with this person because it's just going to end up where I'm going to get my heart broken and I'm not going to recover. Instead of thinking like that, think I'm grateful for the experience of being able to try a relationship, to feel love feelings. I mean, you'd be surprised how many people go through an entire lifetime and they never ever feel what you're terrified of letting yourself fall into because it's right in front of you. You know, so if we just consider living in the top half of this way of living, our highest vibration is what we're sending out. Right now, we're sending out high vibration energy, which means we're going to receive high vibration energy. You know, you're not going to receive low vibration energy when your element is high because you have no time for it. It'll walk into your life still, but you're not going to have time for it. You're going to be like, whoa, you are too negative, or you are too unhappy, or you're not happy for me. So sorry, but no, thank you. Right. So this is what happens when we're up here. Now, when we're in a lower vibrational space, like that bar, like we're in the lower half of it, our vibration tends to be low, which means you're going to attract low vibration people and low vibration experiences to you. So we don't want that because those experiences can keep you down forever, like an 18-year marriage, right?
Yeah.
True. So that's, I don't want anybody to have to go through what I went through. And I really want to teach people how to keep themselves up in the higher level of that because it's what you deserve, right? We all deserve to be happy. It's what we deserve. It's what we should be shooting for because why would we intentionally want to torture ourselves with low vibration people, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, it's just bringing an awareness to the mind and paying attention to your thoughts, paying attention to the words that come out of your mouth, paying attention to where your focus is, not being a perfectionist, right? When you have an idea, run with the idea and just go with getting it done. And don't worry about the little tiny details. Perfectionism, by the way, just for anybody who wants to know, perfectionism is really you showing the world that you don't know what the hell you're doing. You're terrified, you're scared, and that's what perfectionism is. So anybody who says, I'm a perfectionist, it just means that you're so unsure of yourself.
Yeah.
So, right, instead of hiding inside of that, just go for getting it done. Like I had to work on this. Trust me, when I say I was an overachiever, and I still kind of am, I was a serious overachiever. Like I would spend 15 hours on the last paragraph of something to get it right. Like it's ridiculous how you can get so down that rabbit hole of perfectionism. You know, but anyway, I digress. So energy, I want people to just keep in their mind, you know, where are you with your thoughts and where are you with your actions and how do you describe the world around you and the people around you? Because, you know, what you think about, that's your reality. You know, if you think people are up to no good, that's your reality. That will happen. You know, your ego will find a way to make it true, whatever it is you feel about yourself as well. Right. So anyway, that's what I teach people about vibration.
Tanya, what kind of a mom are you trying to be?
I talk to my kids like that. I do. I have raised them. I think that because I grew up in foster care and, you know, I grew up with social workers around me and psychologists around me all the time. And, I felt like my life was like this poking and prodding sort of experiment that other people were doing to me. I was just really insecure and I didn't fit in, and I had a hard time like just walking up to kids on the playground, and I was shy and I was scared, and and I'm still like this. I'm an introverted person who's learned how to be extroverted. So all of this energy that you're feeling off of me right now, I used to register this energy as serious anxiety, and I was holding it all in. Like I was afraid to be heard and I was afraid to be seen. So what kind of a mom am I? I teach my kids how to not be all of those things. So from when they were really, really, really small, if my daughter, who's now 12 and a half, if she was like sitting there like this and she wanted to go play with those kids, I would say, you want to go play with the kids? And she'd say, yeah. And I'd say, then go play with the kids. Just jump right in. Don't ask for permission. You don't need to apologize for being there. Jump in. So she would, and I would teach her, when someone's not being nice to you, it only means that they're insecure. So don't feed into the fire of their anger or their frustration. Give them a hug or say nice things to them, or just let them know nicely they're not going to be able to get to you, so you're not the person to pick on, like, or something like that, right? Like whatever the situation is. But I teach them to stand up for themselves, and I teach them to be mindful and aware. I mean, now my children are the kinds of kids that will run and hold the door open for a stranger if they see someone struggling. They're looking for ways to be useful, So yeah, that's the kind of mom I want to be. I mean, I try to make them as independent from me as they can be at their age. I want them to not be afraid of people. I want them to know their self-worth. So I work on that stuff all the time. But everything I'm reading, like I'm always reading a personal development book. I'm always working on my skills so that I can help my clients as best as I can. So, and I believe the best way to learn is by teaching. So everything I read, it gets filtered back to the ears of my children. So it's always been like that. So yeah. Anyway, that's the kind of mom I hope to always be. Like, I'm not always the most patient. I don't think any mom is, but I'm very loving and very kind, and I'm very strict. I'm a very strict mom.
Sometimes when I put something on Facebook or out there, I say to myself, practice what you preach. It's like
yeah. It's true. My mother used to do these weird things. So when I was in foster care, I would see my mom one weekend here, another weekend here. Like, it was very like whenever. But whenever I did see her, she would do something and then tell me I couldn't do it. And I remember I was a very cheeky kid. And I remember saying, wait a second, but you're doing it. And now if my kids say that to me, I, nicely remind them that I'm the one who pays the bills and that I'm the adult. We have a conversation about stuff like that. I don't let my kids railroad me, but I do remember that bothering me. So I don't do that with my kids. I mean, I don't like that. I don't like parents doing one thing and then telling their kids that they can't, right? Like you can't swear ferociously in front of your children, and then when they swear, you're like, don't do that.
Yeah.
That kind of a thing is very confusing for little kids, right? Because you're like, well, you're doing it. I don't understand. Why can't I do that too? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Practice what you preach, for sure.
Yeah. Tanya, the other day you posted that you will be publishing a book, that your book is coming out.
This is
kind of secretive, Can you?
No, not secretive, just really busy.
Yeah.
Really busy. And I didn't want to post anything about it until it was all moving forward, right? So, so I was asked I have this online show called Thriving After Divorce, The Empowered Woman, right? So it's mm-hmm. both things. Mm-hmm. And in the last episode that I did, I had interviewed 18 experts, and one of the experts actually recommended me for this book project where, it was a whole bunch of these authors coming together. So it's an analogy it's an anthology about divorce and different approaches to take to, systematically recovering. Mm-hmm. So I was asked to do an entire chapter. So I got something like 10 pages or 8 pages or something. And I was asked to contribute to this amazing book. Now, I was the only author who was never published before. I was the only person who's just starting my business online. I've been a coach for 26 years, but this online business part of it is brand new for me. Mm-hmm. So anyhow, I did it. And now the book is going to be published. It's called Connect. It's going to be published in January 2019. It's going to be in Barnes and Noble across the US, which is really cool. And yeah, I mean, it's huge. This is something entirely new for me, and I'm ready for it. And let me just say one thing about being ready for something. When you start taking steps into your future and you eradicate fear, when you realize that fear isn't even really real, when you get your head around that concept and you start taking steps before you can see them, you just start taking the steps forward and moving forward with your life, especially when you're coming out of adversity. It's easy to get sucked up into that victimization feeling, right? Or the hopelessness feeling. Give yourself something to work toward, you know, start taking those steps, start making yourself known, because the opportunities start to come. And when they start to come, you have to recognize what you asked for, and then you have to just be ready to fall into it and just get it done, right? So this is what's been happening to me. I started the show, I put myself out there, and these opportunities are coming, and it's making me laugh because it's all the stuff that I've been learning, and now it's starting to happen. Like I'm starting to see it.
Yeah.
So it's fun. It's fun. Yeah.
Just the other day I posted, feel the fear and do it anyway. And I like
Susan Jeffers. That's a book by Susan Jeffers.
Yeah.
I love that book. I read that book quite young. I think everybody should read that book a few times.
Okay. I'm on it.
It's such a powerful book. It just teaches you that, you know, if you could, do you want to know this visualization I do with my clients about fear?
Yes.
Can I tell you? Okay, I hope everybody's still interested in this stuff. But so this visualization I do with my clients. So I make them close their eyes. If you want to do it with me, you can do it with me. Mm-hmm. Close your eyes and imagine, like, look down on yourself. So you're looking down from like a bird's eye view. Mm-hmm. And you see yourself standing there in an empty room. I don't care what color it is, just an empty room. And right beside you, we're going to put a little bubble. And inside of that bubble, all of the stuff about you that you're afraid of, or the things that you're terrified to do, or the bad things that were said to you as a child, or, you know, the things that you hope no one ever finds out about you because you're scared of them, like you feel like you're not attractive, or you're ugly, or you're stupid, or any of those things that have been put on you as a child. You're going to take those things out of you and you're going to put them in this bubble. So just imagine them coming out of your head and going into this bubble, every single thing that would ever hold you back. And the idea is that you're left with this perfect, soulful person, just a soul and a body. You're just starting fresh as who you are now. All of those things are swirling around in this bubble beside you, and we're going to move the bubble out of that room into another room and close the door. Now, what you have left is this. I want you to feel some energy in your heart and start to feel a little excited, because you've got now this platform to work from that has nothing wrong with it. There's nothing. You're pure. You're absolutely perfect. You're in really good form to start something brand spanking new. And there's no fear there because it's all in that bubble and it's in the other room, you know? So this is a visualization that I do, and then we work off of that. But so often we forget that we're not alone in this journey. You don't have to carry all of those things on your back for every single thing that you embark on in your life. Put it in a bubble and stick it in another room. Even if it's just for 5 minutes, just try it. Just do it every single day. Whatever fear you have, I can't do it. It's too hard. I'm scared to be on camera. I'm afraid to stand up in front of people. Put those words in that bubble and put it away, because there's no time in this life to be hung up on the stupid things that hold us back, right? There's just not. There's no time for that at all, you know? And the more you feed that, you know, the negativity that's swirling around in your head about the fears you have, the bigger it gets. Yeah. Right? So I say, stick it in a bubble, stick it in another room.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Like, even doing these videos terrified me. When I first started doing this, if you were to see my first show, I'm laughing like crazy because I have nervous anxiety. When I'm scared or something bad's happening, I laugh and I laugh and I laugh and I laugh and I laugh, and it looks ridiculous. But the whole, like, the first 3 interviews, if you can spot them through the 21 interviews that I've done in that show, I'm laughing. I'm just like, this is the craziest thing. My heart was racing. It took me like 2 weeks to get around one interview. Like, I couldn't sleep the night before. My stomach was horrible. But I just decided, I made a decision. Do I want my life to stay the way it was, or do I want to really do something with myself? So, you know, you gotta decide which is more powerful, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny. You should see me. I'm laughing like an idiot. I'm like, bah, ha, ha. Everything. Oh my God. Anyway, it's
Now
funny.
it's like so far away, because then it was like, okay, now I've done interviews,
Yeah.
try to do solos, and then
Yeah.
it's like, okay, let's try live. And then the
Yeah.
other day I was a guest and it was like super fun. And I also tried to do 1 minute videos on Instagram, which was
Yeah.
yeah also a challenge. But when you do it, it's like wow.
Yeah, everything's hard at the beginning. Everything's hard at the beginning. All of it. No matter, it doesn't matter what your experience is. I was a theater actress for 14 years and I did films here in Toronto. I live in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I did 5 independent films. I've been on camera, but I've not been on camera like this. This used to scare me so bad whenever I had auditions for commercials and I had to look right into the camera. It was unbelievable what happened to my body. I got sick. Oh God, it was awful. So this is huge that I can sit here and talk like this. It's really
Yeah,
funny. And
yeah.
then I'll just say one more thing. My very first Facebook Live, if you go back into my first, like the very first one, it's me sitting there going, like my live, I was recording them like this and putting them up for a little while because I was afraid of the live. So
Yeah.
the first one that I did is me going, I just want everybody to know that this is really weird talking to a camera and there's nobody to talk back to me. So I'm just going to talk. It was really weird. I was like, how do you do this? But anyway,
Yeah,
it
it's
feels
just
like a
go
long
into it, yeah. And then you talk.
yeah, I've come a long way.
And is it anything, because I don't want to keep you because I know that you need to go.
Mhm.
Is there anything that you would like to add for before we leave?
Well, I am doing a webinar training soon. I'm going to be doing it at the end of June. It's all about, oh my goodness. So I've just come up with the title. This is a brand new training. It's all free, but it's to do with what I do for a living. So it's called 5 Things That Will Destroy Your Chances of Rebuilding Your Life After Divorce. I feel very strongly about these things. I think that if women are dead set on putting this behind them and moving forward, it doesn't matter how long you were in a relationship, you can literally switch and go right back into living your life the way that you want to live it on your own terms. I put together this training. So I'm in the middle of putting it together now. It's going to be going live at the end of June. You can go to my website, tanyamadubé.com. And you can sign up, go right to the very, very bottom, and you can just sign up. It says sign up for my next show. But I'm also going to integrate that with this webinar as well. So if you're interested and you want to be a part of it, it's going to be free training. It's going to be about an hour long. Please go to tanyamadubé.com and sign up there. But what else can I say? What are some last words?
And also people can find you on Instagram.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram as my name, as you see here, Tanya Marie Dubé with no accent on the E. Tanya Marie Dubé, you can find me on Facebook, the same thing, Tanya Marie Dubé. If you're interested in coming on to my Facebook group, it's called The Empowered Woman. You can't find it. I have to be able to put you on there.
Yeah.
You can message me on Facebook or on Instagram with either one of those 2 handles, those 2 names I gave you, and I can add you in. But any last words of advice? What can I say? To do anything you want to do with your life. Remember that, I said something yesterday that might be very fitting here. I was talking yesterday with my group about, the life that you want to have versus the life that you have now. So if this is you, if you sit here daydreaming about the day, that you're going to get to do this great big thing that you want to do, I'm going to tell you the day is today. You're going to get started on this today because I want you to think of the person who has the life that you want. And then I want you to take a piece of paper and a pen, not typing, do not type this. Take a piece of paper and a pen, and I want you to write down all of the characteristics that that person has that makes them who they are, at least what you think it takes to become that person. And then beside it, I want you to write down all of your own characteristics and all of the things that make you who you are and the things that you've got going for you. And be honest, don't fake anything. Don't put anything that's not true. Then you're going to start to cross them off of both lists. And whatever you have left over on the other person's list, those are the things you need to work on. So you start working on those today. And then you ask yourself what it is that you want for your future. Write it out, pen to paper, write it out. And then ask yourself, what's the first thing you got to do to get there? And then go do that thing, right? It's really that simple. I think that people get it in their head that there's so much involved and it gets so scary that they're overwhelmed and they're like, screw it, not doing any of it because I have no idea what to do. It's really that simple, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, because what I noticed also with myself, when you put that thought on the piece of paper, it's like liberating. Yeah.
Mm,
As long as you have it in your head, it's like in your head, and it
yeah.
keeps you crazy. And
Oh
when,
my gosh. Yeah.
yeah, and also the other day when I was in a group with Linya, she said, try to brag about yourself.
Hmm.
And when I started bragging about myself, I was like, damn it. I should,
Bragging about yourself or to other people around you?
I mean, to yourself and to other people in the group. I mean, like bragging to people about your accomplishments. Because you
Well,
normally, like I normally don't do that. I
well,
mean,
can I say something really quickly about that? I don't ever put myself in a position on purpose to invite somebody to be angry with something that I'm saying or doing.
mhm,
Now, I believe in confidence and I believe in saying what I'm great at,
mhm.
but there's a really fine line between, like with me, Carmen, you could call me up and be like, I'm amazing. And I'd be like, yes, you are. But for a whole bunch of people who might not be used to the way we talk, it
Yeah.
might be a little bit disarming. And what happens for people, and it's not your fault, but what happens to people when they hear someone be so confident, they put themselves in the position of two things. Their reality, it makes them feel like in their own minds, they're thinking, I suck. I'm not doing anything as awesome as that. Or they think that's impossible for me to do. I'm too afraid. So, whenever I'm talking about the things that I've done or the work that I've done, I always remember, and not to say you're not like this or your friend's not like this, but I always start with, humility first, which is why I don't talk about the things that I'm doing until they're done, right? Because you were just saying to me, that it was like a secret about my book. It
Yeah.
wasn't a secret about the book. It's just that I feel like there's more strength in me putting my head down because of how I feel about myself and what I know to be true,
Mhm.
just getting the work done. And then when it's ready, talk about it then, because you invite in so much criticism when we're, you know, like when we're bragging, right? Like, anyhow, I just don't like the word bragging. I know what you're saying, but
Yeah, I mean,
inside of our circle, to talk like
yeah,
that is a lot different than an average person outside, right?
exactly. It was actually just for the group. It wasn't
Just for the
for,
group.
yeah,
Yeah.
because you need to be careful not to brag to, the
Oh
whole,
my goodness. It's so important to talk about yourself in such a good light.
yeah,
Again, remember, I've got a girl and I've got a boy. And I say, to my daughter, I find my daughters very beautiful. Everybody thinks their kids are beautiful, right? At least I hope they do. And, I'll say to my daughter, like if she has a problem with a friend or whatever, and she feels like it's because, I don't know, her hair is longer than everybody else's or something like that. I just remind her that these are not the most important things. The hair and the face and all of that is not the most important thing. The most important thing is how we make people feel. So talk about how wonderful you are, but do it in the context of helping someone else,
yeah,
or talk about how wonderful other people are and let them sing your praises, like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
But I think it's so important to say like how great you are at something. It really is, because you're building yourself up all the time, every time you do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it just sounded differently when I put all the accomplishment out there.
Good for you.
Yeah, I was like proud of me, and I was like, oh,
Yeah. Because it's funny, right? You forget how much you've actually accomplished.
yeah, yeah,
It's
exactly. Yeah. And
true.
the same as you said, putting your idea on the paper for your webinar,
Yeah.
when it's out there, it's something great that you have to put out there and to help somebody.
Yeah. There you go. That's it.
So thank you, Tanya, for having me today, for joining me, and for all the viewers. Thank you for watching us, and talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Carmen.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Tanya.